It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 177. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, April 26th, 2026, a great day for a podcast about video games and more. So I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you for being here. The first order of business is to ask you to follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, Patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you would like to support the show. Now, today's show will have three sections as always. The first section, I'm going to tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. The mid section, which is the middle of the show, it's not mid in quality. That's where I'll tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And third and final section is a break from all the video game talk, the Miscellaneous talk section. And I'd like to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. My favorite team in the universe is currently playing, and they are winning 6-0 against the Phillies, so that's a really great thing. It's the third inning, so early on in that game, but this is a mid-game podcast for you here on this Sunday, so go Braves. All right, so let's get into video games, because that's what we're really here for. So what video games have I been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone? And if you've been listening to the show at all this year, there's been a lot of talk of a particular franchise, and that has been continuing. So I've been playing some more Pokemon. I've been trying to catch them all. And I've been trying to catch them all some more in Pokemon LeafGreen. That's the one that I've really been hooked on and having so much fun with. And in the past week since I've talked to you, I have now completed the 8th gym in the game, and I've taken down Giovanni. Once again, I think I fought Giovanni earlier in the game as part of like a side mission. But I've taken down Giovanni again. I am the Viridian City Gym champion. I got the Earth Badge, and that makes Pokemon of any level obey me. So the world is my oyster out here in playing Pokemon LeafGreen. So I can challenge the Pokemon League now. I received the TM26 Earthquake, and I have been doing a little bit of leveling before going to the Pokemon League. I have made it to Victory Road, but Victory Road is like a dungeon or a place in itself that you have to go through before you can go challenge the Elite Four. So you have to face your rival once before going to Victory Road again, which I have done, and I have taken my rival down once again. It was a little bit tough with his Charizard, but I went back and did a little bit of leveling actually, and leveled up Lapras and Raichu in my party. So that's kind of my preparation. A little bit of my preparation for the rival, and then especially preparation for the Elite Four that I got to challenge after getting through Victory Road. So that's my plan right now in LeafGreen, and I do want to look up a little bit how to get through Victory Road, because immediately when you enter Victory Road, you can see some boulders, and there was a dungeon earlier in this game that has boulders that you can, screw up for the rest of the game. So it basically makes Seafoam Islands a dead end, and I don't want that to happen here in Victory Road, which I guess it's probably not possible to do so, but hey, you never know. I put a lot of time into this game, raising up my Pokemon, taking down these trainers, and my last objective is to go take down the Elite Four, and this will be the first Pokemon game I've ever completed, and it's definitely high on the ranking for my favorite game from a prior year this year so far, and I think generally going up my list of favorite games of all time. I don't know, where it would stack or if it would crack the top 10, but it's definitely going to be in consideration when I'm thinking about those things, because I've been having so much fun with this game, and I guess I'm getting a little bit closer to the end. So, potentially in the upcoming week, I'm going to do a little more leveling or basically go ahead towards Victory Road. But my current team right now consists of Flareon, who I think is my favorite Pokemon in this game so far, and definitely getting some traction as my favorite Pokemon ever. Venusaur is my second. I guess Venusaur is my strongest Pokemon, but I would say my second favorite in this game or in my lineup so far. And then the rest of my lineup right now is Articuno, Nidoking, which is Mr. Nido, Raichu, and Lapras. So Raichu has replaced Snorlax in the last week so I can have an electric type in my party. I think my party is pretty balanced with all the different types, and I think that'll help me taking down these Elite Four here at the end. So I've been having nothing but fun with Pokemon LeafGreen, planning to do some more in the upcoming week. But I've also been playing some other games this week that are Pokemon related. And when I say Pokemon related, they are Pokemon games. So I've also started playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond on Nintendo Switch. And this is one I picked up in the last week. I think I had this game when it originally came out in 2021, but I ended up trading it in at some point. So I picked this game up again, and I was interested in playing this one particularly because I've been enjoying LeafGreen with the top-down approach of like an older style Pokemon game, and that's what Brilliant Diamond is doing as well. It's a remake of the 2006 game from the DS, and it has, I can already tell more modern features like experience share across your whole team. So and it just feels like it controls a little bit more modern and maybe a little bit more snappier just around the menus and in the game of like controlling your character in general. So I think that's pretty nice. And I think the starters in this game are growing on me. And I ended up picking Piplup as my starter in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. I guess I am a little bit torn. I think I maybe would have taken Chimchar next and then Turtwig last, but I think I have arguments for all of them. I think they look pretty cool. I think Turtwig looks especially cool on its first two forms, maybe a little bit less on the third. I think Chimchar looks pretty great all the way through. And then I think Piplup looks extremely great as a starter. It maybe gets a little bit worse over time, but still looks generally cool. And I think Piplup as the initial starter was enough of a selling point to ride with Piplup on my Brilliant Diamond team. So I've been playing some of this during the week. I've been making some general progress. I haven't even started messing with the first gym yet, really. I think I've started just catching Pokemon. I have 4 or 5 I think I only have 4 on my team at this point. So very, very early, but starting this out, really liking it, enjoying the music, and hopefully I can, end up liking this as much or, if not more than LeafGreen. But I still got work to do in LeafGreen, and now I got a lot of work to do in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. So that's pretty nice in the Pokemon world. All right, so I've also gone back to a Pokemon game from last year that I purchased, and I only played, I guess I played a decent portion of this game. Well, right now, okay, I'm about 11 hours in, so I think I've maybe played an hour or 2 at the most in the last week or more recently. So I played maybe 7-8 hours of this last year, so nothing too crazy. But making my way back into Pokemon Legends Z through A. This one's set in Lumiose City, which is in the Kalos region. So I'm trying to get some of these Pokemon regions set in my mind. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond is in the Sinnoh region. Pokemon LeafGreen is Kanto. And then, like I was saying, Legends Z through A is in the Kalos region. So in the past week, or in the past really time since I've played this game, I just ranked up from W to X. So I'm moving up the ranks a little bit. I finally went into the Battle Zone, which is making I guess the overall structure of this game is making a little more sense to me. And I spent some time in the Battle Zone, which is exactly what it wanted me to do, just to get up to another particular rank, and then it gives me the next mainline objective. So I've been hung up on one side mission that I can't really figure out how to solve. I have another side mission I really didn't feel like messing with, so I decided, hey, I really need to go, be tough out here and go take on some challengers. And it was a little bit tough in there. I think I took down 7 trainers, and like the one, it gives you like a certain, it's basically like in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom at night when the blood moon comes out. Like in Lumiose City, basically the blood moon comes out and you're able to go fight people in the challenge zone. So, or it's almost like the Division or something. So I think it's pretty cool. But I maybe need to do some leveling in this game. I think maybe I'm taking this game a little bit too unserious and need to level up my team, because I would have not survived that fight. Some of those battles in the Battle Zone without using a million potions, and luckily you can pause the battle anytime you want to and use potions, so that feels a little bit like a cheat code. But even with that, they were almost taking me down, so I need to probably go back and level up my Pokemon. I'm rolling with Bayleaf as my current, that's my starter. My starter was Chikorita, and I maybe should have picked Totodile. I'm maybe regretting that a little bit, but I do think Chikorita and Bayleaf, and I think it's Magnemium. That might be wrong on the 3rd evolution, but I think Chikorita looks pretty cool all the way through. So that's my I have Chikorita. Who else do I have?
I have a Ghastly. I think I have a Lit Leo. I'm trying to think who else is on my base team so far. I had a Clefairy, but I replaced Clefairy with somebody else. So pretty cool. I like the Pokemon in the game. I like seeing the Pokemon around town and Lumiose City. Hopefully I'll get a little more familiar with walking around Lumiose City, since it's not really the most giant of a place. It's also not really the most unique looking all around, but I think I could generally learn some landmarks and things around the way. There is a lot of fast traveling, so I've been having a lot of fun with the Pokemon games, and adding Pokemon Legends Z through A back in the mix is last week. Last week is what I did. So, tons and tons of Pokemon. So Pokemon Leaf Green, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and Pokemon Legends Z through A. Those have been, the 3 Pokemon games that I've been playing in the last week. All right, there's another game that I guess I did my second time playing a bit of this game, and that was Pragmata. And this is a game that I actually streamed on YouTube last week, just about an hour and a half, so just the very beginning of the game. But my plan is to stream through this entire thing on YouTube, just in different episodes. So if you want to go watch the video of that, it's on my YouTube channel right now. Just go look for Dep Lewis Show on YouTube, and you can watch the intro of me playing Pragmata, which I think is very cool. So my notes on this game so far, I wrote it controls and looks great. The story is good enough so far. I think they're doing a good job with the characters. I think the characters are pretty strong, even if maybe they are a little bit cheesy or like on the nose or something like that. But I think overall they're pretty strong characters. Hugh and Diana. Hugh is the main protagonist who you're controlling, and then Diana is the, it looks like a little kid in the artwork, but it's actually a robot. I don't know why the robot looks like a little kid or an android, but you're learning more as you go on this mysterious, well, you're on the moon, but it's just very mysterious up there, as I guess you might imagine. But other things about Pragmata I really like the hacking mechanic. I think that's fun. That is the mechanic you get from Diana hanging out on your back, and it's activated while you're shooting characters. So you're shooting people with you, and then you're also doing the hacking mechanic simultaneously to take down their armor, and then you're able to shoot their weak points easier. But it's just a really fun mechanic. You're using the face buttons alongside of shooting and pulling the trigger. You're using the face buttons to hack the enemies, and it's just really, really fun to do. So Pragmata runs really great on Switch 2. I definitely want to say that. It's one of those games on the Switch 2 where I'm playing it and I'm like, man, I can't really believe this is running on a Nintendo Switch. It feels just, I'm sure it looks better on other platforms, but I think this is a really great looking video game, even on the Switch 2. So if you have any reservations about that, I would say maybe don't have them. I think if you wanted to play the game, handheld in any instance, I think this would be the version to get. And if you are only interested in this game just based on you think it sounds cool, then maybe get it on PC or Xbox or PlayStation or something. But it's been running really, really great on the Switch 2 in my eye, and I haven't even tried it out in handheld yet, but that's something I would like to do. So Pragmata, been having a lot of fun with this. The controls feel really great. The hover is really cool. I just upgraded put some points into upgrading the hover. I've liked the upgrades that I've been getting so far. I've been upgrading the hacking. There are different costumes and outfits that you can wear that look really cool. I'm in like looks like a Daedra armor from Elder Scrolls that I'm wearing that just looks like a space Daedra kind of guy, or Daedra, however you say it. But just looks extremely cool. And Diana has some cool armor now too. And I'm having a lot of fun with this. And, please go check out my playthrough, or it's called Dep Lewis Shows Off, and then the game name Pragmata on YouTube. So go check that out. I've been having some fun with Pragmata, and I'm not going to try to commit towards any schedule, but whenever I'm having time or feel like playing this, I'm going to hop on. I'm going to play some. I'm only going to play this game on the stream, and all those will be recorded and put on my YouTube channel as well. So either catch it live or catch it later on YouTube. All right, so that's everything I've been playing in the past week. Pokemon Leaf Green, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Pokemon Legends Z through A, and Pragmata. This is the year of the front log on the Dep Lewis Show, so that's my overall theme for the year. So I'm looking towards the future. Instead of making backlogs or going back in the history of franchises or trying to make a list of games to complete, I'm just looking forward to the games coming out this year. And my list of my front log, though, includes games like Forza Horizon 6, May 19th, and then PS5 later in the year. So that's my most anticipated game for sure. Meaning the Hollow Earth, spring 2026. Rhythm Heaven Groove is July 2nd. There's a new addition to the front log, but I'm going to talk about that in the midsection, so there's a little bit of a teaser there. Marvel Token Fighting Souls, August 6th. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, August 27th. Marvel's Wolverine, September 15th. And Grand Theft Auto, November 19th. So quite the front log. I don't know if I'm going to get all those games on release date, but these are definitely the games this year that I am most interested in and most likely would want to get at some point. I think Forza Horizon 6 is my most anticipated, and that's probably my top day one game, and then probably followed by Marvel's Wolverine. Grand Theft Auto 6 will be hard to miss. I think that's going to be amazing. Metal Gear Solid 4 I've played before, but I would love to play it again and see how it runs on modern platformers. Marvel Token Fighting Souls. I get into a fighting game every couple of years. This seems like it could be a really good chance at one of those. And there's a couple of other ones in there as well. Mina the Hollower looks really fun. It looks like one of those classic games, like a Spelunky, like a Binding of Isaac, like a Dead Cells. One of those games that's under $20 or in that indie range of games or price range of games. That's really, really amazing that you can play at any time. And then Rhythm Heaven Groove I think looks really, really cool. So that's everything I'm interested in the past week that I've been playing, and everything looking towards the front log. So that's going to wrap up this first section of the show, but there is plenty more to go. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear some lovely break music, and then I'm going to come back and tell you everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 177. This is where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. So the first thing I want to tell you about is a release from last week that is available right now. It's called Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors. So getting up there, I think maybe one of the categories for Game of the Year should be longest game name or most absurd game name, and this one probably has to go in that category, because listen, this is the entire game name. Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors. So imagine lending your friend that game and you're like, hey, can I borrow Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors from you? They're like, yeah, I just got it last week. But this game is available now. It's released on April 21st. It's available multi-platform, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. It's $9.99, so a very affordable video game, which is really great. And this game has some really good pedigree. It's developed by Ponkel, the creator of Vampire Survivors, a smash hit, and also Nosebleed Interactive is helping Ponkel with this one. So it's also published by Ponkel. Just interesting to note that Ponkel is a developer and a publisher, so good for Ponkel. And Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors. And they even put in the description, from the creators of Vampire Survivors, so they really want you to know that. Comes a turbocharged, turn-based roguelite deck builder. So that's the key word here, and this one is deck builder. Deal world-ending combos, blitz through infested dungeons, and master the turbo turn to obliterate hordes of familiar foes with a chaotic hand of cards. So very good flavor text there. I have some slight interest in playing this game. I have some slight interest in playing more of regular Vampire Crawlers or Vampire Survivors. I think the deck building games are seeing a resurgence, or I don't know if I guess a renaissance. I don't know if this is their first really big introduction, but people are really loving the deck builder games. People love roguelike games, and we're seeing a lot of combinations of these. We just saw Slay the Spire 2 come out recently, and this one seems similar in my mind to that one for some reason. But I guess this one's definitely on my list of games to try out at some point, but I just don't have a burning inclination to do so just based on the style of game. But I do appreciate Ponkel, and I think you should check out Vampire Survivors, and I think you should also go look at Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors, available now. All right, so another game that I enjoyed playing last year was Ball Pit, and Ball Pit is a brick-breaking, ball-fusing, base-building survival roguelite. I think it falls in that category I was just talking about, like Vampire Survivors would, of more inexpensive game that has a lot of replayability. It's really fun, handheld, and I think just a great value overall. So Ball Pit, developed by Kenny Sun and Friends, published by Devolver Digital, has a new update. It's called the Shadow Update, and that's going to release in the upcoming week. So if you're listening real time, it's actually going to come out tomorrow on April 27th for free across PlayStation, Xbox Series, Switch 2, One, PC, and mobile. Ball Pit is everywhere. Now, the base game for Ball Pit is $14.99 US dollars, and this new Shadow Update is going to introduce 2 new characters, the Tunneler, which is a scrappy miner whose shots don't stop at the edge. They wrap around the screen and come back in from the other side, making just about every angle fair game. And the Tiptoer, a fragile but deadly ninja who stays undetected by enemies at close range at the cost of lower health and damage. The Shadow update is also adding 11 new balls, 4 new passives, a full metal rapier, a arrow of fate, an argent stopwatch, and the Swordbreaker. And it's also going to add 1 new building. So you better start thinking of a spot to drop the guild hall, is what they say. This new building allows players to re-roll previously chosen character upgrades. So Ball Pit continues to be a good value. They keep adding content to this game for free, and there will be some more new content in this game in the upcoming week on April 27th called the Shadow Update for Ball Pit. So please go check that out if that sounds cool to you. All right, also in the upcoming week, we're getting another expansion. This one's actually a paid expansion for Diablo 4, and it's called Lord of Hatred. And this expansion is dropping on April 28th, so just a couple days away if you're listening in real time. And I believe the standalone portion of the Lord of Hatred DLC is $39.99 US dollars, but please double check me there. And I think there are some bundles where you can get the game and get all the DLC included that might be a little more favorable on the price, so please double check. But Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred expansion is coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. It's a new expansion, new campaign, new classes, and a final reckoning is what they say. So the campaign summary: Sanctuary was born from rebellion, a fragile refuge between heaven and hell. Though Lilith was defeated, her legacy endures as Nyrel struggles to contain Mephisto, the prime evil of hatred. Now his power stirs once more, spreading corruption towards the sacred isles of Skovos and threatening all of Sanctuary. So the Lord of Hatred expansion in Diablo 4 has 2 new classes as well, Paladin and Warlock. And there's also, alongside the release of the expansion, there are some major updates for all Diablo 4 players. So when Lord of Hatred releases, all players will experience reshaped hero progression with deeper customization and new tools for mastery. A major skill tree reworks, including new skill variants for every class, along with level cap increases, will refresh how you customize and build power. Plus, a new loot filter will ease the discovery of desired items across Sanctuary. So great news for someone looking for additional content, someone looking for, maybe some added bells and whistles around the current game they do own. And I think Diablo is another great example of a game that gets free updates, a game that gets new content added to it. And it seems like it was a good game from the jump, and it seems like it's an even better game over time. And I think a lot of games are doing that these days. Well, we don't generally get as many new releases as before. And I think that's, not as, I would love to get more new releases of games, but I do think games get supported longer. They get more updates. They get more features. They get more time to cook a little bit, I guess, if you can be patient. And, that has its own frustrations. But I think that's also a nice thing just in general. Just like I'm saying, if something's already good and it's getting better over time and oftentimes for free, I think that's very nice. So Diablo 4 getting a Lord of Hatred expansion in the upcoming week on April 28th. All right, talking about some more games that are coming out in the near future. I don't know if this next one had a release date prior, or maybe this game was just getting talked about more in the world out there. And I saw a little bit more footage of this. I saw Giant Bomb playing this next game I want to talk about, and that is Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. This is going to release on May 21st, so under a month away for Nintendo Switch 2. It's $59.99 digitally and $69.99 US dollars physically. So the first game that is making that distinction where the digital copy is going to be less expensive than the physical version. In Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, you can discover a world of quirky creatures, play as Yoshi, and help a mysterious talking book named Mr. E remember the creatures living within the pages. Open them up, explore colorful habitats, and experiment with each creature to learn all kinds of surprising facts across every page. On your journey, you might find Bowser Jr. popping up in the habitats. What could he be up to? So I think, my main question with Yoshi and the Mysterious Book of how serious of a game is this going to be? How serious is the platform going to be? Is it going to be an easy breezy, beautiful cover girl? Or is it going to be more difficult, giving people, I think, what they would want from it, more like a Yoshi's Island back in the day, but, more recently, like a Hollow Knight or a Silk Song. I don't know if it would be that difficult, but, something leaning more towards that. And it looks like from the footage I saw of Giant Bomb playing, it looks like it is definitely skewed towards a younger audience. And I guess that's the way to say that it's a easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. But either way, there's younger people can they need games too. I think younger people oftentimes enjoy all sorts of games, but something skewed towards a younger audience seems fine to me. And I guess they want to create some new Nintendo fans, and they don't want everything to have a really tough barrier of entry, and that's kind of where I see this game falling. So Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, I don't know if this is going to be a system seller, but I think this might be a nice option in the Nintendo Switch 2 repertoire for a younger gamer, or this is one you could see a kid getting for Christmas and really enjoying, or something like that. But Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is coming out May 21st, and I would say maybe damper your expectations. All right. This next game has been rumored for a while. I think this one has been announced, but now we officially have the date, and this is the remake of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it's called Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. The release date is going to be July 9th, so I believe that's the new bit of information here. It's going to release on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. It's going to be $59.99 US. It is a renewed and enhanced experience. So the iconic solo pirate adventure returns. Sail the Caribbean as Edward Kenway during the golden age of piracy in this faithfully enhanced remake featuring stunning visuals, upgraded gameplay, and new content. So whether you're sailing the open seas or journeying across untamed lands, discover a seamless open world built with the latest Anvil engine. Take in sweeping vistas as you brave stormy waters, dive into underwater shipwrecks, or push through dense tropical jungles. Enhanced by features such as Dolby Atmos and ray tracing, every scene feels more immersive, bringing the world's beauty to life. So in Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, you can strike fear in your foes as you board and sink enemy vessels as Edward Kenway, captain of the Jackdaw. I think maybe it was the Jackclaw, but I think it's the Jackdaw. So whether blending into crowds or leading daring assaults, switch between silent takedowns and fierce brawls as you effortlessly wield swords and pistols. With a cast of historical pirate legends at your side, defy empires amidst the age-old conflict opposing assassins and Templars. So I'm even thinking in my head right now of the recent remake to Metal Gear 3, where it just makes it a little bit more modern, control-wise, maybe some of the visuals, but it's staying pretty true to the base game, which people love. And I kind of hope that's what they're going to be doing here, and it seems like that's what they are doing. So Assassin's Creed has had a lot of entries in the franchise. I think Black Flag I don't know if it would be like a sleeper hit for a lot of people, but I think it would be, like considered a real hit for a lot of people if they had to pick one of their favorite Assassin's Creed games. So I believe this is a really smart move. I was kind of hoping to see a Nintendo Switch 2 version of this coming. Maybe that would be later down the road. We've seen Assassin's Creed Shadows run on the Nintendo Switch 2 perfectly fine. And I think that would be nice. Maybe that's just not the highest priority of, optimizing a version for Switch 2 where it's not going to look as good. So maybe that is going to come in the future, would be my only other hope here. But I think really, really cool. I know a couple of, my friends in real life and friends of the show that are looking forward to this. And I think this could, be a good one for older gamers and possibly get some younger people into Assassin's Creed as well. All right, so that one, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, has a release date of July 9th. All right, this next one is probably my favorite announcement of the week, and I think this game has already been announced, but we officially have a release date for Splatoon Raiders. And Splatoon 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. Splatoon Raiders is the one that I'm going to be adding to my front log list for next week. That's the one I was teasing a little bit at the beginning. This one, I may have to try just on the basis of loving Splatoon, but I'm really just a multiplayer fan of Splatoon. I've never really even tried the single player content out too much, more than 30 minutes or something like that. And this one is a single player focused game, but I'm interested now pretty much, I guess, for life of anything Splatoon related, and Splatoon Raiders has a release date of July 23rd. So this one's coming out for Nintendo Switch 2. It's going to be $49.99 digitally, and in this game you can hunt for treasure and splat scores of enemies. Splatoon Raiders is a single-player focused adventure. Play as a mechanic working with Deep Cut, a trio of swashbuckling musicians, and venture out into the mysterious Spherolite Islands. Customize your character, kit yourself out with mechanical gadgets and ink-splattering weapons, and take on waves of enemies, salmonids, as you raid the islands for treasure. It's not just you out there, though. One member of Deep Cut will raid alongside you in a powerful bot. You can also join up with up to 3 players online or via local wireless. So I do think it sounds a little bit like Horde mode to me, which I think is sort of a mode in Splatoon already. And I think that would be fun if you knew a lot of people who played Splatoon, but I don't know if this one's really going to be up my alley, but I'm definitely interested in this game and could most likely see myself trying this out, especially if people are saying the single player experience is good enough in this by yourself. So alongside of Splatoon Raiders, which is releasing on July 23rd, they are releasing 3 new amiibo to celebrate the release. The amiibo are going to be Shiver, Fry, and Big Man. Looks like they're going to be $24.99 a piece, and those are releasing on the same day as the game, July 23rd. So, very exciting there. I don't know if this one's going to be a surefire hit for me, but something I'm interested in for sure. All right, a couple more things to tell you about video game wise for the past week. A announcement of another Switch 2 game was made, and that is for Final Fantasy XIV. So Final Fantasy XIV will make its debut on Nintendo Switch 2 in August 2026. So we don't have a firm or a specific date, but we do have a window, a window of a month, August 2026. So Final Fantasy XIV, developed and published by Square Enix. And in this game, you can join over 30 million adventurers worldwide and take part in an epic and ever-changing Final Fantasy. Experience an unforgettable story, exhilarating battles, and a myriad of captivating environments to explore. So those playing Final Fantasy XIV for the first time on Nintendo Switch 2, you can purchase Final Fantasy XIV and a subscription to play the game. And then current Final Fantasy XIV players who wish to play on Nintendo Switch 2, if you already play FF14 on another platform, you will still need to purchase FF14 on Switch 2 and a separate subscription for the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game. However, if you have remaining game time on other platforms, the Nintendo Switch 2 subscription will be available at half price. So it doesn't look like that one is an ideal situation there for people wishing to transfer over their save file perhaps to Nintendo Switch 2. It doesn't look like that's going to be possible, and it looks like the like PC versions or other versions and Switch 2 are going to be treated separately. There will also be an initial 1-month period of early access to ensure server stability, after which official service will start. A subscription to Nintendo Switch Online will not be required to play FF14 on Switch 2 in either the early access period or during official service. So that is one nice thing there, that paying the subscription service for FF14 to Square Enix will suffice, and Nintendo is not going to charge on top of that as well, treating it like a Fortnite or something that would be on a Nintendo Switch 2. So Final Fantasy XIV, a beloved game, is coming to Switch 2 August of this year. All right, one of my favorite franchises, Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 has been announced. So Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 has been announced and is going to release in 2027. So not anytime soon, but like always, I guess if we're lucky, 2027 will be here before we know it. And Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 is releasing for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Steam. Developed by the Dimps Corporation, published by Bandai Namco. And this is a completely new Dragon Ball experience, where you decide the hero you want to be in an unexplored Dragon Ball world. Age 1000, a whole new world. So step into the brand new future Dragon Ball universe filled with unique, original characters brought to life by Akira Toriyama, rest in peace to him, the original author of Dragon Ball. In Age 1000, journey through developed and vibrant West City, explore the bustling city, encounter characters, and uncover exciting new stories. Take your place in the story and experience what awaits in West City. Guided into the ranks of the Great Saiyan Squad, you'll fight alongside allies as events there begin to take shape. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 delivers an action-adventure experience packed with intense battles and extensive character customization options. So it's been a minute since a Xenoverse game has been released. I don't know if I've ever played one of these before. My favorite Dragon Ball Z game has been Budokai. I don't specifically know which one, maybe the second one. And I played some Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I'm still interested in Sparking Zero. I've thought about picking that up at some point, but I think Dragon Ball is a really great video game franchise as well, along with the show. And the last Dragon Ball Xenoverse game was 2015 for the second one. So it's been a long time, and nice to see that Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 has been announced and is going to be releasing next year, though. So that is the news there on Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. All right, a couple Xbox news stories here, and I think these are pretty positive ones here. So Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is getting a price update. And if you had to flip a coin, I don't know about flipping a coin, but if you had to take a guess or bet some money of which way you think the price would be going, I would say you probably think it's going up, but no. Xbox is trying to garner some goodwill, and they are going to reduce the price of Game Pass Ultimate. So starting today, so this has already taken place April 21st, Game Pass Ultimate drops from $29.99 to $22.99 a month. PC Game Pass will also drop from $16.49 to $13.99 a month. Prices may vary by region. And then also beginning this year, future Call of Duty titles won't join Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass at launch. New Call of Duty games will be added to Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass during the following holiday season, about a year later, while existing Call of Duty titles already in the library will continue to be available. So this is a nice move to the public, reducing the price of a service they may want. And this is also, a good way to admit a little bit of a mistake here, or maybe a huge mistake, of adding Call of Duty into Game Pass. So they had their giant acquisition of Activision, and they're like, hey, this is going to be, the thing that's going to keep Game Pass alive forever, and that's really just not the case. I think Call of Duty fans would probably pay for that game separately, and it's more got muddied in the Game Pass waters than really like added to it or created a value for anybody. It really just kind of muddied it up, and it looks like they're trying to separate those things. And I think Call of Duty has its own problems to figure out anyways, but it definitely has a dedicated fan base and could come back to see great relevance once again. I think that's totally possible. It's a gigantic franchise, and they've had some really, really great games over the years. So I think this is overall a pretty good move. I mean, the price going down on anything these days is great. With the caveat that they're removing one of the big titles from there, but they're not taking away any of the ones already there. It's just with the entries going forward, and the entries going forward have some things to prove either way. So I mean, at least this one is something you could subscribe to monthly, try it out, and then cancel it if you're not interested in it. And I think it being cheaper will give people more incentive to try it out, and if they can make it a better service, or I don't know if they can make it a better service. I think maybe putting it to the forefront as like what the main thing you're selling was kind of the mistake. I think having it as your ancillary service is nice, kind of like a free way to get some games or have some access to a library of games. I think is nice and can serve a lot of different people. But I think it being the main selling point of your console, I think was the mistake, and I think that's what they are, maybe changing up a little bit here with this Xbox Game Pass Ultimate price decrease. A very nice and good job over there, Xbox, with that news. Xbox has also announced a little bit of a rebrand to their logo. So they have a new bright new green logo. It's just the Xbox symbol, no text. Previously, the logo said the words Xbox below the symbol in white. So everyone online right now, and even myself, is giving some kudos and some applause to CEO Asha Sharma, who's taken over recently, making some good moves. I think they are. I haven't really seen them make any missteps or mishaps recently with trying to push her gamer image. She was wearing a really cool Halo 3 jacket at a press conference. I think that's a really great touch. Even if she's not a huge Halo fan, I think putting some respect on the Halo name is a great thing for anybody working at Xbox, because I think it pretty much is the face of the Xbox franchise if you had to pick one face. And they've just been making some smarter moves, changing up the strategy, being willing to change, and willing to change on things that matter, like the price. The price being lower is a huge thing, and I think anybody can appreciate that. So, I don't think Xbox is doing everything right. I think they've been maybe not going in the best direction, but that doesn't mean that they can't change, and these are seemingly some good moves, so we got to definitely shout those out over there on the Xbox side of things. We're making some good-looking moves. All right, the last bit of news I want to tell you about this week. We talked about a couple of these last week, which is pretty funny that we're getting all these announcements at once, but it's kind of like a copycat world out there sometimes. But Elden Ring was a video game from 2022 from Software, and it has been announced that the live-action movie adaptation of Elden Ring, produced by the studio A24 in partnership with Bandai Namco and Film for IMAX, is slated for release on March 3rd. And this is another one. Maybe you can't put your PTO in, you can't get ready, you can't pop your popcorn, because the Elden Ring movie has been announced for release on March 3rd, 2028. So a long ways away, but it has been announced. Trying to get the hype built for the Elden Ring movie like these other video game franchises are trying to do. So I'm not really too big of a movie watcher these days, and I definitely think that video game movies have a tough hill to climb with their quality. So I don't know. I think the Mario movie has been maybe eye-opening for a lot of these developers or teams or companies with the money that can be made. I think the Mario movie seemed like decent quality, and I guess it's a tougher thing to do with live action would be my guess. But I've been talked about the franchise One Piece in the last couple shows, and it seems like their live action translation has been really, really good. We've seen the Last of Us TV show. People really enjoy that, and there's some other examples of that as well. So maybe these things are just getting better as time goes as well. And the Elden Ring movie is coming March 3rd, 2028. So that is the final bit of news I have for you for the past week, and that's everything I wanted to tell you about going on around the video game world that took place in the last week, and just all the interesting things I think, and about a few things in the upcoming week as well. So we talked about Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors. We talked about Ball Pit, Diablo 4, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, Splatoon Raiders, Final Fantasy XIV, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Price Update, the Xbox logo rebrand, and the Elden Ring movie coming in 2028. So that's all the video game news for you. That's all the video game thoughts I have for you for this week. But there is one final section of the show to go, and it's the Miscellaneous Talk section. So please stick around after this music for the final section of this show. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 177. This is the Miscellaneous Talk section where I can talk about anything I want to outside of the video game world. So as always, I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. And it's been a pretty interesting week for most of my teams going on, so let's get into it. So for the NFL, my favorite team, the Carolina Panthers, are in the offseason, but the NFL draft did take place last week, and the Panthers looks like got some really good guys. So the first round pick, the 19th pick overall, the Panthers took Monroe Freeling. That's their top guy. He's an offensive tackle from Georgia. He's a small guy, 6'7", 315 pounds, so hopefully he can do a really, really great job at protecting Bryce Young for a long time. The second round of the draft, pick number 17, the Panthers took Lee Hunter, a defensive tackle from Texas Tech, a 6'3", 318-pound defensive tackle, so another small gentleman, and he's going to be added to the defensive line with another small human, Derek Brown. So I think the Panthers have really done some great moves to shore up the defense with Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, the big signings over the offseason. And then it looks like they are trying to improve the trenches here early on in the draft, which is really nice. Round 3, pick 19 for the Panthers. Their third pick was Chris, I think I've heard someone call it Brazil, might be Brazel, but Chris Brazel or Brazil the second. I'm sure I'm going to learn that at some point very soon. But he is the wide receiver from Tennessee. He is 6'4", 198 pounds. And then the Panthers also took, in the remaining rounds of the draft 4 through 7, they took a cornerback, Will Lee III from Texas A&M, a center, Sam Hecht from Kansas State. I might have pronounced his last name incorrectly, so I apologize. Safety, Zaki Wheatley from Penn State. And then their final pick was Jackson Kuwach from Miami of Ohio. So I think pretty perfect. I think I expected the Panthers try to get some help on the back end, cornerback or a safety, and they took those later on. I think improving the offensive line is a really, really great move. I don't think the Panthers have any glaring needs, but Taylor Moton is a little bit older as an offensive lineman, and keeping Bryce upright is extremely important, especially with everyone's joke and the reality of Bryce not being the biggest guy on the football field. I think getting another cornerback in the mix is really nice too. We have JC, who is a seatbelt strap. We got Mike Jackson, who is extremely fun and extremely good at football. But I think having a nice third option in there that can be really reliable would be nice. And they also added, a safety and another linebacker in the mix. So I think, we signed Devin Lloyd, who was a guaranteed commodity, and I think, potentially getting another young guy to come up and learn from him and some of the other linebackers on the squad is a really nice move. So I wish much success to all the Panthers picks over the NFL draft last week and was very fun to watch. And I'm generally very happy about it and excited to see the football start in the fall. So I'm really, really ready to watch the Panthers play. So go Panthers. All right, for the NBA, I'm a halfway fan of the Hornets since I'm a North Carolina resident in the last couple of years, but it is just the offseason for the Hornets. Nothing to report there. And then I'm a fan of the Atlanta Hawks, even though I've been a little bit heartbroken by them after the Trae Young trade, but they are in the playoffs playing the Knicks. So they started the first game of the series was last Sunday. I guess it was maybe last Saturday, but it took place before the last podcast, and the Hawks lost the opening game. But then Monday at the Knicks, the Hawks won 107 to 106. So the series was tied 1-1 after Monday's game. McCollum had 32 points in this game. He was the high scorer in the first game with 26 as well. So McCollum has really been doing his thing for the Hawks, which is really crazy to see. Thursday versus the Knicks, the Hawks won 109 to 108. And then Saturday versus the Knicks last night, the Hawks lost 98 to 114. So not a very close game at all throughout that one. So really, really tough. The series is tied 2-2 after yesterday's game. The Hawks and the Knicks are going to play in the upcoming week. Game 5 is scheduled for Tuesday. Game 6 is scheduled for Thursday. And Game 7, I guess, if needed, is scheduled for Saturday. So I'll have to report back to you next week on what happens with the Hawks in the first round. And I think they can win. I think the combination of Jalen Johnson and Kuminga has been really nice. And they have other good players as well. I think Okongwu has been playing elevating his game, which has been really, really nice to see. And I want to see them move on and get past the Knicks and see what they can do. And I hope I get the chance to tell you about that next week. So go Hawks. All right, and then my favorite team in the universe, the Atlanta Braves, moving over to Major League Baseball. Since last week, since I've talked to you last Sunday, they played Sunday Night Baseball against the Phillies, and the Braves won 4-2. So they swept the Phillies last weekend. So that's a really, really wonderful thing. And then to start the week, they were playing the Nationals. So Monday at the Nationals, the Braves won 9-4. Tuesday at the Nationals, the Braves lost 4-11. Wednesday at the Nationals, the Braves won 8-6. Thursday at the Nationals, their afternoon game, the Braves won 7-2. And then moving on to Philly again this weekend, but this one's taking place in Atlanta. Friday versus Philly, the Braves won 5-3, so wonderful. Saturday versus Philly, the Braves lost in 10 innings, 5-8 to the Phillies last night. So really, really close game. It just looks like this one. I didn't really end up seeing the end of this game, but it looks like Philly kind of busted it open there at the end to win the game. But after that loss last night, the Braves are 19-9 record-wise after this game and first in the NL East. So doing really, really well. Can't complain at all about the Braves. They are looking really great this year, and I hope that continues. So as I said before, I'm recording this podcast during the Braves game right now. They started at 1:35 versus Philly in Atlanta. It was Chris Nail versus Aaron Nola on the mound. The Braves were up 6-0 last I saw. This was in the third inning, so looking good early on, and hopefully that is the case when I'm done recording this podcast. I'm going to go see the Braves won or are in the process of winning the game. So next week, the Braves are actually off tomorrow on Monday. Then they're going to be playing 3 versus Detroit in Atlanta, and then they're going out to Colorado for 3 at the Rockies for next weekend. So very happy with the Braves, and just go all my teams. This has been very, it was a great week for my sports teams and sports in general, and that is always very fun. So, that's all I really got to say about my sports teams this week. So we talked about the Carolina Panthers, the Charlotte Hornets, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Braves. All right, so that's going to wrap up this final section of the show, and that's going to wrap up the entire show. So I'd like to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you would like to support the show. I thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world. Please look out for me on YouTube during the week. There's a good chance you might catch me playing some Pragmata on there. If you want to go see the first episode of Dep Lewis Show's off Pragmata, please go check that out on my YouTube now. It's like the first hour and a half of the game, and you can get a pretty good feel for what the game's going to look like. And that's the last real promo. Besides, please come back and listen to the podcast again next week as always. If things are going your way out there in the world, I hope that continues. If things are not going your way, I hope that changes. And just thank you, as always, for being a listener. And I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.